panel, and then I'll go back out again.
I'd like to pick up immediately on what you just said at the end, which is I believe that the so-called climate crisis is the secularization of original sin. In other words, to be human is to be bad, according to the climate lobby. That's the first thing I'd like to say. Second thing is that the whole idea that CO2 drives climate is false. It falls into what what is the single cause fallacy. The single cause fallacy is to take a very complex problem and reduce it down to a single cause. We know that the climate is a multifaceted agency, and it's not driven by CO2. It is driven by factors far more powerful than CO2, including the 11-year sunspot cycle, the fact that the moon's orbit is not circular but elliptical, and so the gravitational changes on the moon pull the oceans. Well, that changes the ocean currents. There are 12 major ocean currents. They are the driving factor of climate, not CO2. The Coriolis effect, which is the fact that the Earth is a globe spinning on its axis, causing a turbulence in the liquid oceans, that is the cause of climate change. Volcanic activity, that is the cause of climate change. And the Earth is a nuclear reactor. It's got plutonium in it. It creates its own heat. That is the cause of climate change. CO2 may be a cause of climate change, but it's a minor cause of climate change, and human part of that CO2 is a minuscule part of the whole. So to take the activities of human beings and claim that that is the cause of the so-called climate change catastrophe is an absolute travesty of science. It's not climate science, it's climate mythology. And the last thing I'd like to say, talking about the lady who notices the changes of language, is that there was a strategic change from the word global warming to the word climate change. Now, this wasn't accidental. It's because the climate change concept is not a scientific concept because it does not make predictions. Climate change will encompass any change. Hotter, it's climate change. Colder, it's climate change. Wetter, it's climate change. Drier, it's climate change. It makes no predictions, and therefore it is not a scientific hypothesis. It is what scientists call a void hypothesis. In order to be a scientific hypothesis, it has to be able to make predictions which may be tested against experience. Okay. Just one more sentence. Global warming does make predictions, and it has failed every prediction they've made. They cannot get their global warming concept to work, so they've reduced it and broadened it out to climate change. So on all those levels, I think they're false.
That's very